Hello. You're listening to The Art of Magnetic Leadership, and this is the second, the intermediate course. In this first class, I want to talk about the importance of having longer rhythms in your work. Short rhythms are usually due to emotional reaction. You think in terms of immediate gains or overcoming immediate problems. A leader can't afford to react to things emotionally. He's got to take the view that the war is more important than the battle. He's got to learn to become a cause, not an effect. So what you have to do, because as a leader trying to develop the magnetism of a good leader, you need to learn to control your own environment, your own work. I don't mean dominate, I mean to control, in the sense of being able to do what needs to be done instead of having it snapped out from under you. This then requires an attitude of acting rather than reacting. When you can learn not to react, so that if somebody comes to you, for example, with a lot of anger about something, and you just take it inside instead of shouting back at him, you'll find that then you can gain control of the situation. If, on the other hand, you shout back, then he shouts louder, and pretty soon you lose not only in the immediate, but in the long range, because a leader who reacts on an emotional level will lose the respect of the people who work with him. They may have emotional reactions, he can't afford to. It seems unfair, perhaps, but you just have to have that attitude as your sacrifice, you might say. Not only that, but when you can learn to act rather than react, when you can learn to rise above the emotion that a situation might elicit from you, you will be able then to see things clearly, because the truth is that emotions always cloud issues. Reason also will follow emotion. If the emotions are depressed, then the reason will give you all the reasons in the world why you should feel depressed. If the emotions are calm, if the emotions are happy, if you feel well inside, then you'll see all the reasons in the world why you should feel well. So reason is not an independent tool so long as it's being influenced by the emotions. You can't make rational decisions as long as the emotions are not under your own control. So you've got to learn to act rather than react. You've got to learn to think in terms of the war instead of the individual battle. In organizing, and I should say founding an organization that I founded some years ago, which is still going strongly, I had a very interesting experience in this regard. A number of the people had come into the work wanting to do things in different ways. And I found that as long as I could let them do certain things their way, while I was busy trying to get the organization on track in what I realized were more important ways, that I was able to gradually win them over. If I had resisted them on all points, I would never have won them. And so sometimes in this process of having longer rhythms, what you need to do is allow people to have their way in lesser things or side issues in order to get an important thing the way it needs to be. In this case, they were interested in developing architectural aspects that were important to me. I wish that I'd been able to have more input at that time, but I realized that in order to develop the human aspect of it, which was much more important to the long-range survival of the organization, I had to cede those points, and they didn't understand how important these points were, and were willing to let me go along with this. But gradually, working with people, working with the human aspects of the group, I was able to bring them to a level of cooperation and harmony where now everybody works on all levels in harmony together. So there we see that I was looking not at an immediate victory, but I was looking years down the road and realizing that if we could keep our sights in mind, never lose sight of our ultimate goal, whether we turned a little bit left or a little bit right here or there, was of secondary importance. You may have to sacrifice even some things that are desirable to you because you think that they're valid in the name of having a long-range goal accomplished. You're the one who will have to make that decision. But in these courses, in these classes, these lessons, I've also laid stress on leadership, not only in an organizational setup, but also leadership in the individual. Leading your own, you might say, nation of consciousness, all the different qualities that you have in your own personality, your good and bad, your laziness, your energy, your resistance, your willingness, on so many different points, your likes and dislikes. Each one of these is like a citizen in a country, all ready to vote. And if you want to lead your mind to a long-range good for yourself, the same principle applies. You need to magnetize it, and we're talking of magnetic leadership. And a part of that magnetism will be, supposing you've got some quality that you need to work on. I know Thoreau wrote in his essay on civil disobedience that if you see a wrong in society, you owe it to yourself and to society to correct it. Well, that's all right if there's one wrong and you happen to be on the scene and can do something about it, but what if you see 1,000 wrongs and are not on the scene of more than maybe 1 or 2 of them? You can't right them all. You have to choose your battles. You have to choose your struggles. There may be some quality that you want to overcome in yourself, let's say, and we're talking of this kind of leadership that will gradually bring you up toward being more the kind of person you want to be. Well, some of these qualities that you want to overcome may be just too big for you to work on. Well, what will help you to become strong enough to work on them? By working on smaller ones, by having smaller victories. A general who's trying to invade a country may find that he can do better not with one big thrust, but nibbling away here, gradually gaining the strength until he can make that big thrust. So fighting the battles that you're able to fight right now and win. In an organization, it's always helpful to fight battles that you have some measure of confidence that you'll win. Otherwise, better leave that issue and work on others, because partly what you need to do is also magnetize people, give them a sense of confidence in what you're doing. And if you can win them on issues that are more clear-cut, then the more difficult issues gradually will come into a clear enough focus for you to be able to face them and overcome them. So again, in the long rhythms, you have to understand that not every right can be accomplished overnight. Not every wrong can be set right. You need to think in terms of what you will do today in order to accomplish something more tomorrow, in order to accomplish maybe a supreme good 20 years from now. Don't be impatient. Have longer rhythms. This is, in America, it's sort of a national trait to be impatient. I know in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh said that we don't have to win this war. All we have to do is hang in there long enough for the Americans to get tired of it. And essentially that's what happened. We need to understand that this is a weakness on the one hand. It can also be a strength in other contexts, but something that as a nation we need to work with. Don't be impatient. Don't think that you need to do everything right now. Work realistically toward long-range goals.